I want to start with a specific image today. You know the one. It takes over social media every autumn. It's cottagecore.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
The linen dresses, the sourdough starters bubbling on the counter.
And the garden. It is always the garden. When we think of words like herbalism or um, green witchery,
Right.
we picture this thatched cottage deep in an ancient forest, shelves packed with these perfectly labeled jars of rare roots, and outside, just a sprawling manicured Eden.
It's beautiful, but it's a fantasy that actually creates a massive barrier to entry.
Totally. We look at that perfection, we think, well, I don't have the acreage, I don't have the time, and I definitely don't have the magical green thumb for that. So we don't even start.
Exactly.
Which is precisely why I am genuinely eager to get into today's deep dive. We are unpacking a guide called The Modern Witch's Guide to Cultivating Magical Herbalism.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason this text stands out to me, and why we chose it, is that it takes a sledgehammer to that whole perfect garden image.
Right.
It completely flips the script on what makes a garden magical.
It really does. And I think the core argument here is just so refreshing. It suggests that herbalism, especially now, isn't about historical reenactment, you know?
Right, it's not about pretending you live in the 18th century without Wi-Fi.
Exactly. It's about building a living, reciprocal relationship with the earth that fits into your actual life.
Yeah.
The messy, busy, overscheduled life you're living right now.
So our mission today is to figure out how to build what the source calls a magical garden, but with a meager caveat. The source argues that a magical garden is defined not by what you grow,
Or how much land you own.
but by how you grow it.
Right. It moves us away from a mindset of, like, consumption growing things just to extract value from them. And it pushes us towards a mindset of collaboration. It asks us to view nature as a partner.
Not a resource to be managed.
Exactly.
So let's start with that definition, because the guide makes a pretty bold claim right up front. It says a magical garden doesn't have to be aesthetic. It implies that a row of ugly plastic pots on a fire escape is just as valid as that cottage garden.
Provided it's alive and intentional.
That word intentional is everything, isn't it?
It's the pivot point. The source actually breaks this down into 4 pillars. It says if you want to move from just gardening, which is, biological maintenance, to magical gardening, you have to incorporate these 4 things.
Okay.
So first, plants are chosen with intention. Second, care is given with awareness. Third, harvesting is done with respect.
What's the fourth one?
And fourth, the energy exchange is acknowledged.
Okay, I want to push on that one energy exchange.
Yeah.
It sounds a little abstract.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a little woo-woo for some listeners.
I get that.
For a lot of people, gardening is a one-way street. I water you, I give you fertilizer, and you give me tomatoes. End of transaction.
And that's the transactional view. And it's how we're taught to interact with almost everything. But the text argues that in this framework, plants are allies, teachers, and energetic beings. They have their own rhythms, their own needs, their own responses that have nothing to do with us.
Okay.
So when you engage with them, you aren't just maintaining a biological object. You are interacting with a living system that responds to your presence.
So the difference between treating a roommate like a piece of furniture, you just navigate around them, versus treating them like a person you have an actual relationship with.
That is a perfect analogy. And this leads to the section on accessibility, which I found just incredibly validating. The guide explicitly states you do not need land.
Right. It lists windowsills, balconies, recycled yogurt containers.
It's all fair game.
There was a quote in that section that I highlighted because I think it sums up the whole philosophy. I actually wrote it down to put on my fridge.
Oh, what was it?
A single pot grown with care is more powerful than a large garden grown with stress.
Yes, it's a call for authenticity. I mean, think about it. If you are stressed out trying to maintain some huge garden because you think that's what a good herbalist should have, you're injecting that stress into the relationship.
You're resentful of the watering schedule.
You are. And the magic, according to the source, comes from the quality of the connection, not the yield of the harvest.
That is a huge relief. Because I think we carry so much guilt when we can't keep up with the Pinterest standard.
Precisely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's about stripping away the performance. The plant doesn't care if the pot is terracotta or plastic. The plant cares if you are paying attention.
Okay, so we've ditched the guilt. We're ready to start small. The next logical hurdle is selection paralysis. I walk into a garden center, and I want to buy the weirdest, most exotic thing.
You want the wolfsbane or the mandrake because it sounds cool.
Exactly. But the guide advises against that, doesn't it?
Strongly against that. The strategy here is practical magic. The author suggests starting with herbs that serve a dual purpose, culinary and magical. This creates sustainability in your practice.
And there's a rule,
The golden rule is choose plants you will actually use.
because if you don't use it, you aren't building a relationship with it.
Exactly. Magic thrives in repetition. You build a bond with the plant by handling it, smelling it, tasting it, using it in your daily life. If you grow some obscure poisonous root that just sits in a jar on a shelf, there's no relationship there. It's just a museum piece.
So the guide offers a starter pack, basically. Plants that bridge that gap between the kitchen and the altar. Let's run through them because most listeners probably have these in their pantry right now.
For sure. Let's start with basil.
The pesto plant.
The pesto plant, yes. But the source associates basil with protection, prosperity, and confidence. It's a fiery, sun-loving plant, and you know how it wilts instantly if it's thirsty.
Oh, yes. So dramatic.
And then it bounces back the second it gets water. It has this very, confident energy.
I never thought about basil as confident, but it does take up space. What about rosemary? That's one of the toughest plants to kill, in my experience.
It is very resilient. Rosemary is heavily linked to clarity, memory, and purification. Ancient scholars used to wear wreaths of rosemary to help them study.
So if I'm cramming for a presentation, I should be sniffing rosemary.
According to the source, absolutely. Then we have mint. Now, I know mint can be aggressive.
Oh yeah, you have to keep it in a container. It's invasive.
It creates runners underground, popping up everywhere, and magically that translates to communication and energy flow. It wants to reach out. It breaks down barriers. It's the herb of connection.
That tracks. It literally tries to connect with everything. What about lavender?
The classic, calm, sleep, emotional balance. It's a soothing herb used to quiet the mind.
Sage?
Sage is for wisdom, cleansing, and grounding. It's often used to clear space, both physically, like getting rid of bad smells, and metaphorically, clearing out stagnant energy.
And lastly, chamomile.
Peace, luck, and nervous system support. It's very gentle, sunny energy. It's often called the plant physician because it's said to heal other plants placed near it.
I really appreciate that this list isn't obscure. The guide is asking us to layer a second level of awareness on top of what we already do. Like when I'm chopping basil for pasta, I'm not just prepping dinner.
You're engaging with prosperity or protection. It turns a chore into a ritual. And that is the essence of the practice. You don't need to carve out 3 hours for some big ceremony. You just need to change your mindset while you're cooking.
Now let's talk about the when. We're used to forcing things to fit our Google Calendar, but plants operate on a totally different clock. The source spends a lot of time discussing syncing with cycles.
This is where we get into the concept of time, not as a straight line, but as a circle. The source argues that plants are deeply responsive to celestial and seasonal time, and if we want to work with them rather than fighting them, we have to realign ourselves.
Starting with the seasons.
Right. Seasonal awareness is practical. I mean, you can't grow tomatoes in the snow, but on a deeper level, it helps us observe energy shifts within ourselves. In winter, the garden rests, the sap goes down to the roots, yet we try to run at 100% productivity all year.
So the garden teaches us that dormancy is necessary for growth.
It's permission to be unproductive in winter. I think we all need that reminder.
For sure. But then the guide drills down further into lunar gardening. This is where some people might, check out. Planting by the moon. Really?
I know, it sounds archaic, like something from an old farmer's almanac. But the source breaks it down pretty logically. I mean, the moon controls the tides, it affects moisture in the soil. But even if you view it just metaphorically, the lunar cycle provides a really robust structure for your garden tasks.
It basically acts like a project manager for your garden.
Exactly. It breaks the workflow down into manageable chunks so you aren't overwhelmed.
So walk us through the 4 phases the guide lays out. What are we actually doing?
Okay, so you start with the new moon. The sky is dark. This is the time for beginning, setting intentions, and planting seeds. You're putting things into the dark soil to germinate.
Makes sense. Then the waxing moon.
The moon is growing larger, gaining light. This is the phase of attraction and growth. So you focus on watering, fertilizing, nourishment. You're feeding the energy.
Full moon.
The peak energy. Everything is illuminated. This is the time for harvesting and charging your herbs, gathering them, when their oils and energy are at their highest point.
And finally, the waning moon.
The light is decreasing. This is for release. You prune dead leaves, you weed the garden, and you let the soil rest. You clear away what isn't working.
It's actually a really solid workflow. Instead of looking at a chaotic garden and thinking, I have to do everything today, you look at the moon and say, oh, it's waning. I just need to weed.
It reduces decision fatigue, and even if you don't believe in the magic, following this rhythm encourages quiet observation. It forces you to slow down and look. And that observation builds the connection. It pulls you out of the frantic news cycle and puts you into geologic time.
So we pick our plants, we're watching the moon. Now let's talk about the actual labor. The guide talks about energetic care. Are we talking about dancing naked under the moonlight, or is it more subtle?
Much more subtle. It's about presence. The source suggests that plants respond to the way they are handled. So, speaking intentions softly while you water ardor, saying something like grow strong or thank you, or just touching the leaves gently rather than roughly moving them aside.
There's a specific instruction to pause before harvesting. That stood out to me because usually I'm rushing. I need 5 basil leaves for the sauce. Snip, I'm gone.
That pause is the difference between extraction and relationship. It shifts the dynamic entirely, and that leads us to the whole section on conceptual harvesting.
Consent with a plant. Okay. I can hear the skeptics rolling their eyes. How does a plant give consent?
It's not about the plant saying yes in English. It's about the gardener practicing respect. It's moving away from the entitlement mindset of, I own this, I take this, to a kind of a relationship ritual. It's a check on our own dominance.
So what are the steps then to do it consensually?
First, you ask internally or aloud. You state your need. I need this for a salad, or I need this for a tea to help me sleep. Then you take only what you need, you never strip the plant bare, you leave enough for it to regrow, and finally, you thank the plant.
It seems like a check on our own greed. It reinforces that magic is cooperative, not consumptive. You aren't strip mining your window box.
Precisely. And this extends to after the harvest. The guide touches on drying and storing using glass jars, labeling things properly, but it emphasizes that your mood during that preparation matters. If you're angry or rushed while you're drying your lavender.
You're infusing that chaotic energy into it. You're making angry tea.
Exactly. And who wants to drink angry tea?
Right. I want to pivot now to what I found to be the most profound section of this text, and honestly the most surprising. The chapter on trauma-aware herbalism. This is not a phrase I've ever seen in a gardening book.
It is a crucial distinction, and I'm so glad the author included it. They frame herbalism not just as a hobby, but as a nervous system supportive practice. This is specifically for people healing from burnout, from trauma, from chronic stress, which, let's be honest, is a massive portion of the population.
So what does trauma-aware gardening actually look like? Because usually, gardening advice is so demanding. Water every day or else.
It looks like permission. It grants you permission to be imperfect. The source explicitly lists things like letting plants die without shame.
That's a big one. We usually treat a dead plant like a moral failing. I'm a bad person because I killed my fern.
Right. But in nature, things die. It's part of the cycle. Decomposition feeds the next generation. The guide also mentions taking breaks when your energy is low and choosing low-maintenance herbs because you honor your own limited capacity. It's okay to grow a cactus if you can't handle a fern.
There's a value statement here that I think is the key takeaway of that whole section. Your worth is not measured by productivity, neither is your magic.
It frames the garden as a sanctuary from capitalism. It allows the garden to be a space where you don't have to perform or produce. You can just be. Even if your garden is messy, even if things are dying back, it is still valid.
And this connects to the idea of the living altar. The source suggests your garden can be a physical manifestation of your internal world.
Yes, it suggests blending spell work right with the soil, placing stones or charms in the pot, using moon water to water the plants, or writing down intentions on slips of paper and burying them near the roots.
Burying your hopes in the dirt. I love the tangibility of that. It anchors the abstract desire into the physical earth.
It grounds the magic, literally. Instead of just thinking about what you want, you are planting it. You are tending to it. You are watching it grow.
So we're watering with intention. We're respecting the harvest. We're burying our wishes. How do we know it's working? The guide has a section on signs your garden is working magically, and I'm assuming we aren't waiting for the basil to start levitating.
No visual fireworks, unfortunately. The signs are internal. The source lists things like feeling a sudden sense of calm when you step near your plants, or noticing an increased intuition about what you need, like suddenly knowing, I really need some mint tea right now.
It mentions herbs calling
Yeah.
to be used, which sounds mystical, but I guess it's just a heightened sensitivity to your own body and the environment.
Exactly. It means the feedback loop is active, you are listening, and the garden is responding. It's not about controlling the plant. It's about being in sync with it.
So, to recap, We are not trying to become master botanists here.
Yeah.
We're not trying to win the county fair with the biggest pumpkin.
No, the main takeaway is that this kind of herbalism is about listening. It's about cultivating patience, presence, and trust.
Your garden grows with you. That's the core message, really. It's a mirror.
It is. And if
Yeah.
we connect this back to where we started, that intimidating image of the cottage versus the reality of the apartment, it tells us that the magic isn't in the cottage. The magic is in the relationship you build right where you are with whatever pot of dirt you have.
It makes the practice feel accessible, which is the best kind of magic. It means you can start today with what you have.
It takes the pressure off and puts the wonder back in. And that's what we're all looking for, isn't it? Just a little bit of wonder in the daily grind.
So here is a thought for you to carry with you this week. The source suggests that when you tend a garden, the garden is tending you back. If you were to plant a single seed today, just one a day where you're already about to represent an intention for your own life, what would it be? And maybe more importantly, how would you treat that seed differently, knowing it's a relationship and not just a project?
Beautiful question to end on.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you next